crowding out effect.
Right. Okay. Good. Appreciate, right? So, right, right. We need the dance, right? So actually, you must be very informative, right? You be here, right? Starting point and the things how we are going to implement, right? You need to explain one by one. That is the thing. Right? Starting from here, initial points A, first we have to consider equilibrium. The real sector, the Mundell. This is the real sector equilibrium occurs at the point A. Mundell sector equilibrium occurs at point A. The relevant income level is Y0 and the interest rate is R0. And that is the point where we can identify in the ISLM analysis, no, at the point A, given equilibrium income and the interest rate R0, Y0 levels. Initially, economy is in equilibrium at Y0 income level and R0 income level. And you can see both real sector and Mundell sector equilibrium. Right? Now we are implementing the expenditure policy, right? Government raises expenditure that shift the aggregate demand. So if we are starting from here, raising the government expenditure, that shift the aggregate demand curve to the right, right? So as a result, equilibrium moves from A to B. Income level increase according to the Keynesian multiplier Y0 to Y2, no, right? So due to rise in the government expenditure, let's assume by delta G portion, changing autonomous expenditure is there, right? IS curve shift to the right, right? Because rise in the government expenditure is a injection. High injection shift the IS curve to the right, right? So it's given by IS1. IS curve shift from IS0 to IS1. As a result, equilibrium change, right? So we need to look at the change in real effect of income as a result of that, right? So due to rise in the, now we know when the government raises expenditure, income level increase. So that is impact on the money market, right? Due to rise in the income from, let's assume Y0 to Y1, right? The money demand under the transaction and precautionary bond will increase, right? Money demand under transaction and precautionary. First part of the money demand part. So there, that at the prevailing interest rate, there is excess money demand, no, right? So at the prevailing interest rate, excess money demand, no, right? So that money market come to the disequilibrium situation, no, as a result of that. So if there's excess money demand, there will be a pressure on interest rate to rise from R0 to R1. And money market equilibrium restored at point C. Why the money market equilibrium established at the point C is initially the due to rise in the income, money demand increase under the transaction and precautionary motive. Later on, due to rise in the interest rate, money demand under the speculative motive decrease. That is offset, right? So finally, money market equilibrium re-established at point C. So that is higher interest rate. When the interest rate increase, we know that your projects will be viable. There will be a discouragement for the private investment. No, private investment discouraged. You know, it's a part of aggregate demand, private investment, aggregate demand decrease, and income level reduce. Therefore, as we expected in the Keynesian theory, economy moves from A to B. That will not happen due to rise in the interest rate. There will be a crowding out effect of that, and private due to decline in the private investment. So economy, the income level decrease from Y2 to Y1, right? So the net effect finally due to rise expansion, fiscal policy action, raising government expenditure, we see income level increase from Y0 to Y1. Right? So the changes is income level increase from Y0 to Y1, interest rate increase from R0 to R1. So far the price level is constant. But we know that due to rise in the government expenditure, no, there will be an impact on prices as well. But in this model, does not recognize. So far we assume price level is constant, right? So that is the explanation. Okay. So likewise, you need to explain. We write it and see, then you can clearly understand the situation. Right? You memorize these things, right? Please do that way, right? Then you can explain those things very clearly, right? And the monetary policy. So the monetary policy actions, right? Now, what is the impact, right? We are going to look at the ISL effect of monetary policy. Now, so far the effects we discussed: impact on the income, impact on the interest rate, right? But if we go to other models, we can look at impact on prices, impact on exchange rate, like what? If we go to the ISL, BB model, right? And the impact on wages as well, under the flexible wages, under the flexible prices. So those things we discuss. It's very interesting, right? But we are not going to discuss, right? Now the monetary policy. Now here we take the, as you mentioned, expansion in monetary policy. Central bank increase the money supply. Now earlier we assumed in the money market, money supply curve vertical. Yes, determined by the central bank. Now central bank change the money stock, right? Then change the money supply. So what is the impact, right? So if there is a rise in the money supply, we know that real money balance, what happened? It increase. Right? Real money balance increase. So when there is a rise in the real money balance, LM curve shift to the right. Right? Now the monetary policy affect to the LM curve. Right? So what happened? It shift to the right. So when there is a rise in the money supply, real money balance, shifting the LM curve, right? Resulting interest rates decrease and income levels will increase, right? So now we need to look at the story behind that, right? Right now, our effect monetary policy in money supply, money stock increase from M0 to M1, right? So that actually goes to due to rise in M, right? Real money balance increase, no, right? So this is the IS and LM, right? IS, G0, T0, we assume those things are not changed, right? Now the LM, M0 and the B0, we assume price level is constant so far, but money stock change, right? Now this is the interest rate and the equilibrium, right? You need to mark all these scales, right? 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 So in your exam, if you draw the curves and without any labels, right, you will not get marks, right? So this is the equilibrium, right? You need to mark the axis correctly, right? And the changes, you need to mark it correct way, right? Otherwise, you will not get marks, right? Even though you believe I have done, right? There will be no marks for you, right? Now, due to rise in the money supply, what happened? LM curve shift to the right. LM curve shift to the right, no, right? LM1, M1, P0, price level does not change, no, right? So LM curve shift to the right. As a result, we see interest rate decrease, income level increase. Why? Why? Why there is a decline in the interest rate? Why there is a rise in the income level? Due to this expansionary fiscal policy action. Raising the money stock is expansionary monetary policy action. Expansionary. No? Now, how this is can be done by the central bank? How now, if the central bank buys securities from the market, central bank buy treasury bills, treasury bonds from the market. The expansionary part, money flows to the market, no? Money supply, right? And the statutory reserve requirement, if the central bank reduce the statutory reserve requirement, no, right? So because under the monetary law acts, each of the central bank can decide SRR, no, time to time, monetary board, no, right? So with the view to controlling the money supply, no, right? If the central bank reduce the statutory reserve requirement, SRR, right? Statutory reserve requirement, right? So we know that each commercial banks that actually limit is supposed to change the commercial bank's lending ability, no, right? Because when the SRR means statutory reserve, each commercial bank has to maintain reserve with the central bank based on their deposit, no, right? If that rate is changed, if that rate decrease, what happens? Commercial bank can lend more money to the public. So that will increase the lending ability of the commercial banks. When the commercial bank lend money to the public, they create extra money, no, extra deposits, no, right? To the bankable deposit system, current account system, no, right? That raise the money sum. Okay? So creating money, no. So commercial bank has the factory of creating money through lending, no, right? Generating extra accounts, no, to the by lending, because this demand deposits come in as a part of money supply, no, right? So the commercial bank grant loans, they create deposits against the current account, no, against the right? So if the SRR reduce, right, it increases the money supply. And the other one is bank rate. Bank rate. What is the bank rate? That is the central bank wholesale rate, no, right? When the central bank has a level of last resort, if there is a problem in the market, if there is a liquidity problem, no, the commercial bank face as a lender of last resort, central bank is there to provide loans, no, right? අවසාන ණය දෙන්නේ. වාණිජ්‍ය බැංකුවල තියෙන ප්‍රශ්නවලදී liquidity problem එකක් ආවොත් who is there behind that? Central bank is there, right? So when the central bank grant loan and advances to the commercial bank, the rate charge is called bank rate, no, right? Bank rate, no, right? Lending rate. So that is the wholesale rate, no, right? So there are two rates, no, wholesale rate, retail rate, no, right? Wholesale rate means when the central bank grant loans to the commercial bank. When the commercial bank grant loans to the public, that is the retail rate, no, right? When the wholesale rate change, retail rate also change, no, right? So that is the cost of borrowing, right? If the commercial bank has to pay higher rate to borrow from the central bank, right, they have to charge higher rate from when they are granting loans to the public as well. They have to retain the margin, no, profit. Commercial banks, profit motive, no, right? So bank rate, if the central bank reduce the bank rate, that will encourage demand for borrowing, no, from the commercial bank. So that will borrowing increase. So that means lending also increase, money supply also increase, no, right? Right, no, right? Please remember, right, those things, right? Now, sometimes you may given these things, right? You need to think about whether it's expansion or contraction, and they are will depend on this, right? Now, here expansion in monetary policy, money supply increase. Let's say central bank buy securities, no, right? Central bank decide as a monetary policy action, central bank decide to buy treasury bills from the market, right? Money flows to the market, money supply increase, right? So ISLM curve shift to the right. On interest rate decrease, income increase. Why? How this is happening? Now, if you look at the money market, so this is the money market. So this is the money supply. So this is the money demand, right? Now the interest rate is initially R0, right? So R0 income level, money stock is M0. M0, P0, this is the real money balance, right? Okay. Money stock is M0. Given. Right? Now the central bank Now use the expansionary monetary policy action. Money stock increase. What happened? This M increase and from M0 to M1, no, right? So that actually raised the money supply, liquidity. M1S, no, right? Money supply curve shift to the right because money stock increase from M0 to M1. P0, right? Money stock increase from M0 to M1. Real money balance increase. Money supply curve shift to the right. So that at the prevailing interest rate, there will be a excess money supply. Right? Excess money supply in the money market. Money market is in disequilibrium now due to this 100 policy action, right? Because at the prevailing interest rate, money market. So what happened? So in order to equilibrate the market, there will be a decline in the interest rate. Now the money supply increase, right? So that create excess money supply. As a result of that, equilibrium interest rate decrease from R0 to R1. Money market equilibrium established, re-established at the point P, no, right? Money market is in equilibrium, right? So the interest rate decrease from R0 to R1, right? So when the interest rate decrease, what happened? So the lower interest rate increase the investment is a part function. We need to relate it. Investment increase, aggregate demand increase, and income increase as a result of that, right? So income increase from Y0 to Y1, right? So that's why we see there's a decline in the interest rate, equilibrium income, interest rate decrease from R0 to R1 with the money market adjustments. When there is a changes in the money market, that affect the real sector as well, right? Through the investment function, right? That is a tandem mechanism. So we see money market changes affect to the real sector, right? Through this lower interest rate, investment, aggregate demand, and income, right? Income level increase from Y0 to Y, right? Likewise, the actually all other things remaining constant, right? Only change for this variable as well. Right. So that is the monetary policy action. Okay. I think it's clear, right? Okay. Any questions? Now that also you can explain, right? You do the monetary policy action. Start from the central bank shooting facility, so start from central bank reduce the reserve requirement. So as a result of that, more money is paid by the commercial banks to the public. Commercial bank maintains the banking system, money supply means LN goes to the right? So as a result, so when there is a LM curve shift to the right, that will affect to the money market, money supply curve shift to the right. So that creates disequilibrium situation at the prevailing interest rate. As a result of that, in order to equilibrate the money market, there will be a decline in the interest rate. When there is a decline in the interest rate, money demand under the speculative want to increase. That will be equal to the change in money supply by the central bank. Right? Money stock එක value වෙනවානේ. Money stock එක value වෙනවා. From M0 to M1. Excess money supply. So excess money supply එක අඩු වෙන්න ඕන නැත්නම් demand එක වැඩි වෙන්න ඕනේ. Money market equilibrium එකක්. So this is absorbed replaced by the due to decline in the interest rate. What happened? Money demand under the speculative motive increase. No, money demand එක වැඩි වෙනවා under speculative motive. That is totally offset by the until excess money supply equals to the money demand. No? Money demand එක වැඩි වෙනවා under speculative. Then money market complex equilibrium at point B. Money market is in. So interest rate decrease due to decline in the interest rate. There's adjustment in the real sector, right? Because investment demand increase, aggregate demand increase, and income level also increase, production also increase. Right, like that, it must be able to explain. Okay. What we do, shall we continue up to 2 or 3? We need to take lights on. I mean, lights on. එකක් කරලා අන්තිම නාපු. කොහොමද යන්නේ? ලහකට බලලා පටන් ගන්න. අය 12 මාසෙට ඉවත් කරලා යනවා. ඊට පස්සේ බලන්න පටන් ගන්නවා. දැන් අපි දලා මාරයි. ඉස්බුත් කරා. නැස් යනවා. නැස් යනවා නයි. ඒක මුලෙන්දා වගේ කරන්නේ. මොකද දැන් තව එකක් ගන්න ඒක වැරුණු අපි unemployment inflation also I added as the quarter. Very on. So we can refer that one, right? We will talk about examination, right? So these, right? One more thing about. So that is one thing we will do, right? And we will stop for the times, right? Right? Now here you can see monetary policy, right? So how we explain? Clearly, right? Again, I will explain graphically, right? So initially you need to think about the initial situation. Okay? So this is the initial situation in the money market, right? Money market equilibrium occurs when money demand equal money supply. Equilibrium interest rate is R0 and the initially equilibrium income is Y0, right? So money market is in equilibrium, right? Now what happened? LM, ISLM. So that is also equilibrium in the ISLM analysis, right? Intersection point gives same interest rate R0, right? And Y0 income level. Okay. So initially the money market is in equilibrium and the real sector equilibrium also occurred at the same point. So since it is the intersection point of the ISLM analysis, right? Now what happens? Central bank increase the money supply. This money stock increase from M0 to M1, right? So money supply curve shift to the right, right? So like we discussed earlier, as due to the adjustment in the money market, right? Demand and supply. Equilibrium moves from A to B, money market equilibrium. As a result, interest rate decrease R0 to R1. So due to decline in the interest rate, we know that, right? So there should be an increase in the income as well, right? That is given by now due to this monetary policy action. LM curve also shift to the right, right? LM curve now M0 to M1, right? See there is an increase in the real money balance. So in ISLM analysis, the equilibrium also was established at the point B. Both real sector and the market sector equilibrium occurred because due to decline in the interest rate, so there is a raise in the investment and aggregate demand and income level as. So at the new income level, both money market and the real sector equilibrium occurred, right? So due to this expansion and fiscal policy action, we see income level increase from Y0 to Y1 and interest rate decrease from R0 to R1. Real money balance also increase, right? And the but price level we assume is constant, right? Okay, right. So you can explain using those markers, right? So if you want to explain the real sector here, right, you can incorporate Keynesian cross, no? Right? Top here, right? Negatively, Keynesian cross when there is a decline in the interest rate, right? What happened to the aggregate demand? Shift in the aggregate demand. So that goes to change the income, right? Like it is in the previous government expenditure case, right? You can, right? Right. So then we will look at the increasing taxes, right? So that is another fiscal policy action, no? Right? Raising the taxes. Okay? what happened? Can you imagine? Now here we assume, can you remember, we assume taxes before, not corporate taxes, here we take the income tax. Yes, income tax. So raising the taxes, we know that's a part of withdrawal, right? Higher withdrawal means reducing. There will be a negative impact on income. So that means IS curve shift to the left. Equalize the taxes. So what happened? IS curve shift to the left, right? So the income level and the interest rate both decrease as a result. How explain that? How we explain that one? Now the taxes, right? So we assume contraction, right? Contractionary fiscal policy action. Fiscal policy action, right? Raising the taxes, lump sum tax, raise, right? Contraction in fiscal policy, right? Now what happened is ISLM, you know, right? So what is happening, right? ISLM. So this is IS, we know, right? We know that B0, T0, right? Taxes initially we assume particular level, right? LM and zero price. B0 both are we assume constant, right? So this is equilibrium, right? Now the raising the taxes from T0 to T1. So as a result, we know that S plus T increase, right? Keeping the injection same, withdrawal increase, right? There will be a negative impact, as a result of that, negative impact, right? Since there is higher withdrawal, right? IS curve shift to the left. Sorry. IS curve shift to the left, right? IS T0, T1. Taxes increase from T0 to T1. So as a result, what happened? Income and the interest rate both decrease. Why? Why there's a decline in the interest rate? Why there's a decline in the investment? Can anyone can explain? The relationship, the link, higher taxes. So in aggregate demand. Now if I use it this way, right? Higher taxes. What happened? Raising the taxes, it's affect to the disposable income, YD, right? Because YD equals Y minus T. If there's a subsidy, you can add. Higher taxes, reduce the disposable income. And there's a reduction in disposable income, consumption decrease because consumption is a part of disposable income, right? Depends on disposable income. When consumption decrease, it reduces the aggregate demand because aggregate demand equals C plus I plus T. Aggregate demand decrease, income decrease. Right? Then there will be a indirect effects, right? When again consumption decrease, again aggregate demand decrease, right? So when income decrease, right? That also happen. Another thing is, right? Money demand also reduce, no, right? Money demand also reduce, no? In both cases, right? There will be a decline in effect, no? Here the consumption decrease, income decrease, right? One side when the income decrease, again consumption decrease, aggregate demand decrease, that will happen, right? And also when the income increase, money demand under the transaction and precautionary motive also decrease, no? Right? Right. So that's why the money demand decrease, right? So the interest rate, there's a decline in the interest rate, no? Right? So now the income always there is a negative effect on income, no? Due to this effect, no? So income decrease, consumption decrease, again consumption decrease, income decrease, no? And that will multiply will happen, no, right? And due to decrease in the interest rate, right? Now when the money demand decrease, right? Interest rate also decrease, right? So we see both interest rate and the income level decrease as a result of this. Right? So the fiscal policy actions will have a negative impact on income. And the interest rate also decrease as a result. Okay. Now you can use that fiscal policy actions, aggregate demand, ancient process if you use, right? If there is a decline in the disposable income consumption, right? Aggregate demand decrease, right? Aggregate demand shows shift to the left, no, right? The ancient cost, right? So that actually reduce the income, right? Then there is a reduction in income, it affects to the money market, right? Money demand under the transaction and precaution also decrease, right? Okay. So interest rate also decrease as a result of that. Okay. So now that is the thing, right? Both here we saw income and the interest rate decrease, right? Now suppose what happened now in this case? Increase government spending and the taxes by the same amount. Can you remember, right? So earlier we discussed what is that? Yeah, identify special concept behind that. If the government raise taxes and the government expenditure by same amount, one side government raise the taxes and the government expenditure also same. We identified balance budget multiplier. Can you remember? So the net effect is income increase by the amount of government expenditure, no? Right? So that can be explained using ISLM model. Earlier we explained using you know that one, no? Balance budget multiplier equals to 1, no? Right? Now we can explain that one based on the ISLM analysis, right? Sorry. Now the raise in the government expenditure, delta G, and the delta T, no, right? Same amount, no, right? Yes. Now we can draw the graph, right? Now this is the ISLM, right? This is IS G0, T0, right? LM, M0, right? Equilibrium initially, interest rate R0, Y0, right? Now the government first raise, what happened? government raises expenditure by delta G portion, right? Okay. So as a result of that, now IS curve, right? Shift to the right. IS G1 P0. Taxes does not change, no? Initially, the government raises expenditure from G0 to G1, right? Right? As a result of that, IS curve shift to the right, no? Right? So we know that in interest rate increase from R0 to R1, income level increase from Y0 to Y1, right? So at the same time, government raised taxes as well. Now the taxes increase by delta T portion, right? Government raised taxes from T0 to T1. Because this expenditure is biased by raising tax, right? So government raised taxes from T0 to T1. Rise in the taxes, shift the IS curve to the left, no, right? That is given by IS G1 T1, right? IS G1 T1, no, right? Now due to increase in the taxes, there will be a negative impact on national income because comes as an improvement, no, right? There will be what happened as a result? Interest rate decrease. Interest rate decrease from R0 to R2 now, right? And due to increase in the taxes, income also decrease from Y1 to Y2, right? Income level increase from Y1 to Y2. So this is the net effect, right? Now the equilibrium earlier, this is A, moves to B, now goes to C, right? Equilibrium established at the point C, no? Right? Money and the goods market, right? So income level is Y2, right? Net effect is income level increase from Y0 to Y1. So that will equals to the raise in the government expenditure actually, no, right? Net effect, no, right? If the government raise expenditure by 50, income level also change by 50, no, right? That is changing out, right? Right. Now, if you think about this, now according to the when the government raises expenditure, right? What happened? You know that according to the Keynesian theory, income raise, no, to the multiplier effect, no, at the prevailing interest rate. Now this is the one, right? Income should increase up to this point, according to the Keynesian theory. Y2, Y3, right? Y3, no, right? So if the according to Keynesian explanation, due to this raise in the government expenditure, income increase from Y0 to Y3. So that is given by this, no? Delta G into 1 over 1 minus B, right? Delta G into 1 over 1 minus B, no? Right? 1 over 1 minus B is the multiplier into change. That is the total change from Y0 to Y3. That explains the Keynesian multiplier, no? Right? Now, due to raising the taxes, what happened? This will taxes. Now this is the tax effect. Due to raising the taxes, income decrease from Y3 to Y1, no, right? Y3 to Y3 to Y, this one, no? Y3 to Y2, no, right? Right. So this effect, delta T minus B over 1 minus B. The tax multiplier is minus B over 1 minus B, no, with the lump sum tax, no? With the change. That is the total change, right? So as a result, actually, income decrease from Y3 to Y2, no, right? So that is the multiplier. Due to raise in the taxes, income decrease, right? This is the multiplier effect. Now finally, the net effect is this. You can see the net effect, right? So that is the delta G, right? So this is the net effect, delta G. Okay. Finally, net effect Y0 to Y. So in other words, if you take the effect of raising the government expenditure, right? Delta E 1 minus E. That is change in income due to change in the government expenditure, right? And the delta T minus B 1 minus B, that is due to change in the tax, right? So this is due to change in the government expenditure, due to change in the taxes, right? Now this change in income, right? So if we add these two, right, what happened? Delta G over, and I write it here. Now the change in income due to change in the government expenditure, delta G into 1 over 1 minus 2. Change in income due to change in the taxes, delta T minus B over 1 minus. Right? Now, government raised the taxes and the government is same amount, right? If we equate these two, delta G into 1 over 1 minus B plus delta G into delta T into minus B 1 minus. The delta T and the delta G is equal, right? So we can write delta T 1 over 1 minus B plus delta T 1. So 1 minus B is common. Sorry, delta G is we can take common. 1 over 1 minus B plus minus B over 1 minus B. Here, what happened? So the 1 minus B is common, right? Delta G 1 minus finally delta G. Right? That will be equals to delta G. That is the change in common expenditure. So this is the delta G income in there. Right? So that is the same policy, no, right? Tax policy and the expenditure policy, right? It's the same, right? We identify this as a balanced budget multiplier, right? Raising the government expense, 1 rupee increase in the government expenditure is finance-wise, 1 rupee increase in taxes, right? Net effect on income is income increased by 1 rupee, right? So that is change in government expenditure. So this is the one we identified as Havelmore effect. Havelmore effect. Balanced budget multiplier, right? Right. So we explain using the ISLM analysis, right? So taking the two incidents, right? It's the government expenditure and the taxes, same. Okay. Right. Any questions? Is it okay? Right. Right. Now here we assume the lump sum tax, right? Right. Any questions? Okay, online participant, do you have any questions? Is it okay? Are you there? Right. So with this now those are the now we talk about the policy effects, right? So the government expenditure, taxes, and the monetary policy actions, right? Fiscal policy and the monetary policy actions, right? We look at how we need to impact on the income, interest rate, right? Maybe the real money balance, no, right? And price level is constant, right? And those things, right? Right. So that's actually we are going to now then we look at the policy effectiveness, right? So after the last break, right? So we want to discuss the policy effectiveness as well, right? So actually a little bit more, right? Some consultants are there, right? Right. So how many people are taking class? Minutes. 1 hour and 20 minutes. 30 minutes. Right? Just the time I like that. So can you take the review? How does Okay. So after the break, we will talk about the policy effectiveness, right? You does not get that. He asked, I said, you signed, okay. Since previous one. Who are they? Bro, I think
पीडीएफ पाथ मत सही है और पीडीएफ पाथ सही है चैटजीपीटी पाथ भी वेबसाइट ना चैटजीपीटी से का ना वेबसाइट पे उधर सोर्स பண்ணி இல்ல வெப்சைட் எடுத்து போட்டேனே நம்ம கண்டென்ட் மட்டும் கட்ட போறேன் இல்ல காலண்டர் organization communication के संबंध theoretical reference इधर से planning एक बनाते रहता है हमारे हेल्थ काम मुझे बता रहे थे अभी ब्रेकर्स pictures videos everybody there yes we can buy these this again is alive American இல்ல அந்த ஸ்ட்ரக்சருக்கு நம்ம டேட்டா மாத்திராது நம்ம டெல்ல இங்க சாரிமா நாளைக்கு 1.5 நியூ ஹவுஸ் நோமன் எல்லாம் சாதனா ஹெடிங் ஹெட்லைன் போடல லைன் போடல கீழ டெக்னாலஜி எப்படி இது போடுது எப்படி இது லாஸ்ட் இல்ல இது லாஸ்ட் சந்தி Word format कर दिया itu kan macam ni peja resume lagi alal link
Maybe charger you know association is
It's changed model. So everything has changed like edited words. Like the copy paste after the change sometimes it's reduce it down. Sometimes and I check it, but it shows like what you were doing. You know,
Thanks. Hello.
Start. So the policy effects. So basically, policy effects, we identified the effect on income and the interest rate, right? So now we are going to talk about the policy effectiveness. So effectiveness, right, of the policy. When you look at the policy effectiveness, right? So basically, mainly we look at the once we implement the policies, right? So what kind of effect is there on the income production? So basically, right? So here we have to measure the effectiveness based on the income effect. Now we know that in the previously, when you look at the effects of policies, right? We identified that according to our, we are not at the deep analysis, right? According to theoretically, we know that there will be impact on the income. Sometimes it may increase the income, sometimes may decrease the income, right? Now, basically, here also, when you look at the, we actually basically, when you talk about the policy effectiveness, right? So we use the graphical analysis, right, in order to prove that part, right? So how they are, how far those policies impact on the income, right? Now, there are certain other aspects that we look at when you talk about the policy effectiveness. Right? Basically, the effectiveness of the policies we can check by the predictability. We can clearly forecast the impact. The impact on the economy. Right? We can identify those policies are effective. Right? And also sometimes the time based, right? Even though some policies implement, we know that it takes a long time to take into effect, right? On the basis. So if it is delayed or time, there is time consumer, such policies may not be effective, no, right? So therefore, likewise, there are other aspects we can look at, but basically, when you talk about in our analysis, right, policy effectiveness, we look at the impact of such policies on the income, right? So basically, now we know that we have understanding about the slope of the curves, right? IS curve, LN curve. We identify different factors that goes to slope of the IS-LN curve, right? So when we look at the effectiveness of the policies, right? So we need to check the slope of the curves. So effectiveness of policies mainly depends on the slope of the IS-LN curves. So that is very, very important, right? So now we are going to look at the policy effectiveness, right? By looking at the slope of the curves, right? We know that IS curve mainly investment and the savings. So there we identified the most important factor that goes to slope of the IS curve as the interest elasticity of investment, right? So I1, right? So when it comes to the monetary policies, that mainly affect the effectiveness, we look at the interest elasticity of money demand. So likewise, those two factors we consider. So when you look at the policy effectiveness, right? Basically, we have to draw the graphs and see, right? Now, once we analyze the effectiveness, this is the summary table, right? So we have the two policies, monetary policy, fiscal policy, right? And the slope of the curves. Slopes, we take two cases, right? Steeper curves, flatter curves, no? Right? And one thing is now we can look at the slope of the IS curve and the slope of the LN. If we have the steeper IS curve, right? Monetary policies are less effective. That is the conclusion we have to make. If it is LM curve, when it comes to the steeper, monetary policy is more effective. Right? So that means if there's a steeper LM curves, monetary policies are effective compared with the steeper IS curve situation, right? And when it comes to the flatter case, now if the IS curve is flatter, is more effective, right? But in case of monetary policies, right? But it is less effective in case of LM curve. It is flatter, right? So likewise, based on the slope of the curve, we can check the effectiveness of the policy. And the fiscal policy, if we take IS curve, steeper IS curve, now we know that it's highly effective in case of fiscal policies. And flatter LM curve is highly effective in case of fiscal policy. So that is the main conclusion, right? So we are going to prove that one using the graphical approach, right? Now, we can talk about that one. Now, first we take the monetary policy. Monetary policy. And the slope of the IS curve. And the slope of the IS curve, right? Monetary policy and the slope of the IS curve, right? Now the slope of the IS curve, right? Now the mainly depends on we take here I1. I1 means, what is I1? Interest elasticity of investment, right? I1 low and the high situation. We take three situations, right? I1 low, I1 high, and if I1 is zero interest elasticity of investment, right? So we know that if the I1 is low, interest elasticity of investment is low, right? We have the steeper IS curve, no? Right? If I1 is high, we get flatter IS curve, right? Now those situations, first one is the I1 low, The other one, we have to draw the three diagrams, right? I1 high. Then I1 equals to 0. 0 interest elasticity, right? Now equal size curves we have to draw, right? Now we have the I1 monetary policy and the slope of the IS curve, right? We look at the slope of the IS curve, right? So I1 is low. What is the slope of the IS curve? Slope I1 low. We have the steeper IS curve, no, right? More steep IS curve, right? If I1 is high, we have the flatter IS curve, right? If I1 is 0, we know that IS curve is vertical, no, right? Right? Now we know we draw the normal LM curve, right? You can draw the normal LM curve. So this is LM. Since we are using the monetary policy, we take the money stock. Given monetary policy, stock money stock is M0, right? So the normal LM curve, right? You have to draw it in an equal way, right? Then you can see the clearly, right? Right. So this is the equilibrium, right? Zero. R0, Y0. Now we are going to implement monetary policy, right? So we assume expansion in monetary policy action, right? Implement. We assume money supply increase, right, from M0 to M1. Central bank raise the money stock from M0 to M1, right? So that is our assumption, right? So we assume the interest elasticity of money is the main factor, right? So not the, now we are taking the critical factor, I1 as the main factor that determines the slope of the IS curve, right? So once we implement the monetary policy, right, what happened? That affect to the LM curve, right? So parallelly, you can shift the IS curve to the, sorry, LM curve, right? LM M1. Now equally, you can equal distance, right? You can shift the LM curve, right? You can draw it correctly, right? For the expansion in monetary policy action, raising the money stock from M0 to M1, raise the real money balance, and that is explained by shifting the LM curve to the right, right? Given by LM M1, right? Now you can see the changes, equilibrium. What happened to the equilibrium? Interest rate decrease here, income level increase slightly, right? In this case, what happened? Interest rate decrease. income level of increase, right? Here, you see only the interest rate decrease, right? But there is no change in the income, right? If I is zero. You have to draw the equal size graphs, no, and see the impact, right? Now you can see which policy is most effective, right? Under what circumstances? Now here we look at the monetary policy and the slope of the highest policy effectiveness, right? So we implement money supply, expansion in money supply, right? Monetary policy, money stock increase from M0 to M1. Slope of the highest curve, we assume depends on the interest elasticity of investment. So we take the I1 low case, I1 high case, I1 zero case, in three cases. If I1 is low, we know that we have the steeper highest curve, right? If I1 is high, we have the flatter highest curve, and we take other extreme case, I1 zero, right? Now we implement the monetary policy, money supply increase from M0 to M1. So that can be reflected in the T diagrams by shifting the money supply curve equal pattern, right? Similar situation, similar way, right? And you can check the impact on the income, no? Right? So what is the most effective? Monetary policy is effective when, under what circumstances? You can see here the impact of income is less, no? Right? But here, impact of income is high, no? So this is the effective, no? One, no? Right? So here we use only the graphical analysis. So this, so I1 low, if there is a I1 high, no? Right? High interest elasticity of investment, monetary policies are effective, right? So that is our conclusion, right? So if the I1 is low, if there is high sensitivity between the interest rate and the investment, right? So we know that high sensitivity, right? That means we have the flatter investment curve, right? Highest curve also become flatter, no? Under such circumstances, expansional fiscal policy action, raising money stock, is highly effective since the income change is more powerful than the I1 low case, right? So monetary policies are effective under high interest elasticity of interest. Okay? So that is our conclusion. Okay. So that is the one situation, right? Okay. Is it there? You go ahead. Yeah, go the okay. Equal manner, right? So we take three cases, I1 low, I1 high, I1 zero. So we are looking at the monetary policy and the effectiveness of the monetary policy. We look at the slope of the IS curve, right? And this slope depends on three cases we take, I1 low, I1 high, I1 zero. So when we take the monetary policy action and we see the impact on the income in order to measure the effectiveness. So we know that this situation is more effective. So that is the I1 high case. Monetary policy sum. Okay. Right. So then the next situation, right? So we look at the monetary policy and the slope of the LM curve, right? Monetary policy and the slope of the LM curve. Now you can draw slope of the LM, slope of the IS curve. We take same situation, right? So we take the fiscal policy. Fiscal policy and the slope of the IS curve. Right? Same case, right? No? Right? Then you draw the situations. Now we take the fiscal policy action, slope of the IS curve. same I1, I2, I0 level, 0 level, right? So we need to prove, right? So I will erase all, right? Now we take the fiscal policy. And the slope of the IS curve. So here also slope we take the now fiscal policy action, we assume the government raise expenditure, right? We assume government raise expenditure from G0 to G1. Okay? So slope depends on the I1, right? Right. Interest elasticity of interest. We take the I1 low as we discussed. I1 high. I1 0. We can draw the equal graphs, right? I1 low means we have the IS curve, I1 0. I1 high, we have the flatter IS curve, or flatter IS curve. I1 low means steeper IS curve, right? Now the fiscal policy, we take the government expenditure, right? Fiscal policy action. Here we can make it E0, right? Normal LM curve, right? You can draw, right? LM. Normal LM, right? Now this is equilibrium. Right? Now this is the initial situation. Now we take the, now what we implement the fiscal policy, no? Right? Government raises expenditure from G0 to G1. That affect to the IS curve. IS curve shift to the right. Right? Parallelly, you can shift the IS curve to the right. IS G1. Here, parallelly, IS G1. IS curve shift to the right. IS G1. Right? So equilibrium. Interest rate increase from R0 to R1. Income also increase. You know how to explain these things, right? Right. We are not going to discuss all these things. Earlier we explained the why the income increase, why the interest rate increase, all the things, right? Here, Now, how do you take a decision? Here, the fiscal policy action. Right? Government raise expenditure. Right? Now, here, when you look at the income effect, you cannot change, no, right? You cannot think, no, all the things you can get the equal, no, kind of things, no, right? Here, basically, we need to look at the crowding out effect, right? Now, let's look at the crowding out effect. How will you change the crowding out effect? You have to go with the previous interest rate, right? Previous interest rate, if the fiscal policy action is implemented under the current interest rate situation, what you can see, income should increase up to Y2, no, right? According to the Keynesian multiplier, no, right? But due to rise in the interest rate, what happened? Income reduced from Y2 to Y1, no, right? So this is the crowding out effect. No? This blue line and the change from Y2 to Y1 explain the crowding out effect. Now here what happened? Go along with the previous interest rate, and this is the Keynesian multiplier. Income should increase up to Y2, right? Okay. But due to rise in the interest rate from R0 to R1, income reduced, no, right? From Y2 to Y1, right? So that is the crowding out effect, no? Right? Here, crowding out effect. Crowding out effect. Here, actually, here also you see, no, right? You cannot check the crowding out, right? Here, interest rate. Now interest rate is not respond, right? So, but due to rise in the IS curve, right? We see some kind of income raises, right? Interest rate increase and the income also increase, no, right? But here basically we look at these two cases, right? Now what is the decision? The policies, under what circumstances this fiscal policy is effective? Effective fiscal policy means if you have a lower crowding out, no, right? Here. Now here the crowding out effect is high, no, right? But here crowding out effect is low. Right? So this one is effective. So if there is a fiscal policy action, right? We know that if there is a low interest elasticity of investment, is more effective under the expansion of fiscal policy. Fiscal policies are more effective if there is a low interest elasticity. I1 is right. That is okay. So that is our decision, right? So now we talk about the monetary policy and the slope of the IS curve, fiscal policy and the slope of the IS curve, right? So then we look at fiscal policy and the slope of the LM curve, right? Okay. Now we are going to talk about fiscal policy and the slope of the LM curve, right? Slope of the LM curve. Okay. Fiscal policy and the slope of the LM curve, right? Earlier we look at the slope of the IS one under fiscal policy and the monetary policy. Now we are going to look at the slope of the LM curve under the fiscal and the monetary policy, right? So let's do this, right? Fiscal policy. Under the slope of the LM curve. Now LM curve slope mainly depends on what? So we take C1, C2, right? C2, right? Interest elasticity of money demand, no? Right? Interest elasticity of money demand. Fiscal policy we assume government raise expenditure like we discussed, right? From G0 to G1, right? Government expenditure increase from G0 to G1, right? Now we have the C1, C2 low, C2 high. Let's take those two cases, right? C2 only these two cases, practically the others are same, right? Right now, if the C2 is low, what is the shape of the LN curve? C2 low. Low C2, LN curve become steep. So LN curve becomes steep. LN curve. We do a steeper LN curve, right? LM and C0, right? If the C2 is high, we get flatter LM curve, right? And we draw the normal IS curve, right? Sorry. IS curve, downward slope. Normal IS curve, right? Normal IS. Normal IS curve, right? Right. So this is the equilibrium. R0, right? R0, YC. Right. So now we are going to implement the fiscal policy, no? Right? Fiscal policy actions. Government raises expenditure, right? So you can parallel shift the IS curve, right? IS T1. IS T1, right? IS curve shift to the right, no? Right? Expansion fiscal policy action. Now what we can see here, can check the impact. The rate increase, income also increase. Now you need to look at the crowding out effect as well, since the fiscal policy action. Now, this is the crowding out effect, right? Compared with the initial situation, right? Once the fiscal policy action is implemented, no, right? We can check the multiplier, right? So at the prevailing interest rate, you know. So income increase up to Y2, no? Should increase up to Y2, but due to rise in the now there's a large upward adjustment in the interest rate. Interest rate increase due to placing the government expenditure under the low interest elasticity of money demand, right? Significant increase that will crowd out the investments significantly, you know, right? So that is the crowding out effect. But here at the prevailing interest rate, you see the income level should rise up to Y2. Due to rise in the interest rate, right? Slightly, right? Compared with here, right? So there is a low crowding out effect, no? Right? So that means which policies under what circumstances? Fiscal policy. If the C2 is high, effective, no? Right? So this is the effective one, no? Right? Fiscal policy. If there is a high interest elasticity of money demand, fiscal policies are effective, right? Likewise, we can check, right? The effectiveness of the policies based on the slope of the IS and the LN, right? So the effectiveness of the policy depends on the slope of the IS and LN. So we can take steeper, flatter IS and LN curves and check the effectiveness. Okay. Right. So then what is the next one? We take the monetary policy and the slope of the LN curve, right? Monetary policy and the slope of the LN curve. Can you do it? Just draw the curves and see monetary policy and the slope of the LN curve. We implement the monetary policy, we expand money supply, money stock from M0 to M1. Can assume. So same C2, right? We can take C2 low, C2 high. So we are going to look at monetary policy, right? Monetary policy. Monetary policy and the slope of the LN curve, right? So you can draw the same, right? Slope is same, right? LN curve is steeper slope, flatter LN, right? And check, but this time we implement the monetary policy, right? We change the money stock from M0 to M1. Can you tell me which policies are effective? Which policy, monetary policy, whether it's effective or otherwise? C2 high means what is the slope of the LN curve? C2 high. Now here C2 high. We have the flatter. The C2 high. We have the flatter LN curve, no? Right? So this is L length N0. And here we have the steeper C2 low. And we draw the normal IS curve, right? Normal IS curve, right? Right. So then implement the monetary policy. Money stock increase from M0 to M1. So the LM curve shift to the right. You can draw the LM curves, right? You have to draw more flatter curve, more steeper curve, right? So the more steep and the more flatter curve, right? So I will not be able to. So the monetary policy is some of the LM curve. So the policy is more intense. Apparently, my one equal. How about you? Which one is more effective? We draw the similar. Putting it on, we can. You have to go, right? Monetary policy, LM curve, steeper one is more effective, right? Steeper one is more effective. You get that? Monetary policy, slope of the LM curve, right? Steeper. This is flatter, this one. This will be the one, right? You get it? It should be there out since there is a day. My one is I cannot guess, right? You can check, right? If you draw it in a scale way, you can parallel same. You can change the monetary policy, shift the length curves and see, right? You have to draw more flatter curve, right? And more steeper curve, right? More steeper, right? Then you can see, right? So here actually C2 low is more effective according to our summary, right? C2 low. Sorry, monetary policy steeper, no? Steeper one, right? Highly effective. The C2 is lower, right? Deeper LM curve means deeper, monetary policy. LM curve is steeper, right? Deeper LM curve, right? Highly effective. Deeper one, no, right? This one is highly effective. There is a C2 is low, right? If you get it, you can draw it clearly, right? And you can see, right? So those are the effectiveness of the monetary policy, right? So we can look at by looking at the slope of the curve. So the slope of the curve depends on different factors, no? Right? So anyway, the slope is given, right? So that based on the, we take the critical factor, interest elasticity of money demand and the interest elasticity of interest. Right? So that is the summary, right? So remember, it depends on the slope of the IS and the LM, right? Okay. Right. So that is basically now. So far we talked about ingredient, right? And policy text, policy studies. Now we are going to look at you may remember that when we talk about the money supply, we assume the price level is constant. Now we are going to look at the price change, how the price change affect to the ISC, right? So when you look at the prices determine how the price is determined according to the aggregate demand and the aggregate supply. That is another ADAS model, right? So we need to derive the aggregate demand first, right? Based on the ISL plane, right? Now the aggregate demand actually and the aggregate supply we are going to talk, right? Aggregate demand explaining the relationship between the price and the aggregate demand. It basically we go the aggregate demand, aggregate normal linear curves, and that determine the price and the aggregate demand of the income. Right? And the aggregate supply also determine the relationship between the aggregate supply and the price. Okay. So aggregate demand and the aggregate supply. So basically, if you want to explain the price change, right, you have to incorporate ADAS. Okay. So now we are going to construct the aggregate demand curve first, right? And we know according to the supply side, aggregate supply how it is explained by the Bayesian economics, we can identify, right? So the demand is more important, right? So construction of aggregate demand curve, right? So we take the price change there, right? So now we assume prices increase, right? First we assume when prices increase. When prices increase, what happens? It affects our money balance, right? Real money balance. M over P, right? When the price increase, keeping the money stock constant, real money balance increase, right? So when there is a decline in the real money balance, in the money supply, money stock decrease, money supply decrease, right? And that if we assume the money stock is, money demand is constant, money supply, real money balance decrease, that raises the interest rate, right? Interest rate rises. When there is an increase in the interest rate, what happens? that reduce the aggregate demand because rise in the interest rate will negatively affect on the investment, right? Aggregate demand decrease, right? So that we are going to explain in our graphical analysis. Based on that, we can derive the aggregate demand curve, right? Now, this is the initial situation. We are going to derive we have the two graphs, right? We have first one is our ISL, then we are going to derive the aggregate demand curve. So this is the initial situation, equilibrium at the point established at the point. The economy is in equilibrium at the point A, where we can see both real sector and the market sector equilibrium. And there we see the interest rate is R0, income level is Y0. Equilibrium interest rate is R0, income level is fixed. Right now, this is the first LM curve, right? Upward sloping. We know that LM, M0, P0. Those are the changing factors, shifting factors, right? Now we assume money stock is M0, price level is P0, given the right. And the IS curve, downward sloping, we assume government expenditure is P0 level, and the taxes are P0 level, right? The equilibrium is established at the point A, right? Now what happened? Price level increase. We assume prices increase from P0 to P1, let's say. Right? Prices increase from P0 to P1. So when prices increase, what happened? Real money balance decrease, that affect to the LM curve. Which side is changed? If the real money balance increase, you will decrease the price of the right or left. So LM curve shift to the left. Right? Now money stock increase from P0 to P1. So LM real money balance decrease. So that is explained by shifting the LM curve to the left. Right. So equilibrium moves upward, no, right? If there is a decline, it shift the LM curve to the left, right? We know that now interest rate increase, income level also decrease, right? So price level increase from P0 to P1, equilibrium moves from A to B, right? Due to change in the money stock, right? Now we can take those 2 points. Initial point is A, right? So that is what are the points? At the point A, we know that price level is P0, income level is Y0. We take P0, Y0, 1 point, right? And the second point is we assume price level increase from P0 to P1, income level decrease up to Y1. Combining those points, we can derive the aggregate demand. So aggregate demand explains the change in prices. And actually that's the relationship between the prices and the aggregate demand, right? Aggregate demand equal aggregate supply income, right? So that relationship explains aggregate demand. It's the downward sloping demand, right? Aggregate demand. Now here we have written G0, T0, M0. What are those factors? Mainly, those are the performance factors, right? Now, if there is a change in the government expenditure, what happened? Aggregate demand curve shift to the right. If there is a change in taxes, aggregate demand curve shift to the. If there is a rise in the taxes, aggregate demand curve shift to the left. If there is an increase in the money stock, what happened? Aggregate demand then shift to the right. Increase in the money stock. Because rise in the money stock means money with the public increase. Demand also increased. So that means all these variables are shifting factors. Right? Now we assume the price change. If there is a price change actually, that affects the LM curve. So based on that, we can identify we can derive the aggregate. Okay. Right. So then the aggregate supply curve, right? Now we assume if there is an aggregate supply, now there are two versions, Keynesian aggregate supply curve and classical aggregate supply. So we know that Keynes believe the demand side factors, no, right? So the aggregate demand is the most important factor identified, no, right? Because according to the Keynesian theory, demand side factors are more important in explaining the output or employment, right? So now you take the aggregate demand curve, right? Sometimes it's vertical, or we can draw this way, right? It's upward sloping. Aggregate demand curve is Keynesian aggregate demand curve is upward sloping, or it's vertical, right? Because demand side factors are important, right? So once it comes to the full employment level, it becomes vertical, right? So until it comes to the full employment level, aggregate demand curve normally slightly upward sloping, because raising the aggregate demand, there will be impact on prices as well. If you draw make a maybe vertical in the make aggregate demand this is aggregate supply, no? Aggregate demand outward sloping, right? So the price level effect at the normally when there is a rise in the aggregate demand, there will be impact on prices. But the pure Keynesian actually has easier simple situation, yes, and price level is constant. Then it becomes vertical aggregate supply curve up to the full employment, right? Then it's horizontal and vertical. That way we can do, right? So this is the aggregate supply curve, right? And wage level, here we assume prices and wage rate is constant, right? Because it's a supply side factor, right? Here for the time being we assume wage, but later on we can change those things, but we are not going to discuss, right? Now any fiscal law monetary policy action, we know that fiscal policy means government raise expense taxes, no? That affect to the aggregate demand. Monetary policy means money supply, that affect to the aggregate demand. So like we mentioned earlier, now this is ETC over against the policy variable, no? Monetary fiscal policy, right? Right. Now when there is a rise in this fiscal policy action, rise in the government expenditure, taxes, money, there will be an increase in the prices, right? And the real wage, right? Because real wage, how we derive? Nominal wage divided by the price level, no? Right? So if the prices change, real wage will also change, right? So that may actually impact on the production, no, right? Now here the Keynes theory identified importance of the demand management policies. Demand side. Raising the aggregate demand, according to the Keynes, can increase the output and employment, right? If you draw the aggregate demand curve, normal downwards demand curve, right? If the government raises expenditure, right? What happened? It shift to the right, no? Right? Aggregate demand. What happened? Income level increase, no? Right? So if it is purely horizontal curve, there will be no impact on prices. But generally, we know that there will be impact on prices. We draw this way, right? So until it reaches to the full employment level, raising the aggregate demand will have an impact on expansionary impact on. We see the expansionary impact on income, output, right? So that what does it explain, right? So once it reaches to the full employment level, this is the full employment level, right? From there, actually, even though we increase the aggregate demand, there will be no impact on income. Meaning, passe demand එක income එකට බලපෑමක් වෙන්නේ නැහැ. Because the economy reaches to the full employment, potential output level. That is called potential output level. So we actually utilize the whole capacity, right? And now we production right? Production line right? So this is our capacity, maximum capacity. Machine එකකින් හදන්න පුළුවන් ප්‍රමාණය, right? By incorporating the inputs, right? Laborers අපි හිතමු 10 දිනක් දාන්න පුළුවන් එක machine එකකට, දැන් තියෙන්නේ laborers දෙන්න. We can add more labor, right? අපි අර micro level කතා කරන්නේ until it utilize the full capacity. Economy also same, if we utilize the full capacity, that means we are coming to the full employment level, right? So until it reaches the full employment level, by raising the aggregate demand, we can increase the income. Once it reaches the full employment level, raising aggregate demand is not effective, right? So that means demand management policies are effective below the full employment level, right? Raising the government expenditure, money supply will have an expansion effect on output. So that's the Keynes identified, right? When there is a raise in the government expenditure or the tax, basically investments, there will be a multiply effect, because we are not utilizing the full capacity. Right? So if we are utilizing the full capacity, this is not happen, right? Until it reaches the full employment level, right? So we can raise the aggregate demand and raise the output. Right? So the demand management policies are more effective. So if we are underutilizing, right? We are operating at under the capacity, right? Below full employment level, right? Once it reaches to the full employment level, so there will be a neutral effect on income, raising government expenditure or the raising the aggregate demand will have a neutral effect on income, right? That is the idea, right? So according to the Keynes aggregate supply curve, we draw it like this, right? Upward sloping until the full employment, then thereafter become vertical. So the vertical part explains the classical aggregate supply curve. Yeah. Classical aggregate supply curve, because the classical case they give you supply side factors are more important, not the demand. So the classical aggregate supply curve, that is vertical. Keynes aggregate supply curve is horizontal. Or merely horizontal. Classical aggregate supply curve is vertical. Because මේකට demand එකක් දැම්ම කියලා demand එක වෙනස් කරා කියලා කිසිම effect එකක් නැහැ. So the demand side factors are not effective. The classical explanation, classical version. Fiscal policy actions are not effective, because supply determines nature. Output depends on the supply side factors. Output and employment depends on the supply side factors. If we increase the supply side factors change, if we increase the factors of production and the technology, this supply curve shift left or right, then it will change the output. Changing the demand is not effective here. That is the classical idea. Demand side factors are not important. Output and employment in the economy depends on the supply side. So let's say classical aggregate supply curve will become vertical. Okay. So here, even though the government raises expenditure, there will be impact on the prices, inflation. Right? Here prices increase. That is inflation. Rate inflation in the economy. But there will be no change in output. No change in output means there is no change in employment as well. Right? So that is the classical idea, classical version. Right? So the raising government expenditure or the demand side factors, right, as not effective. Right? The classical version. They believe the supply side factors are more important than the demand. But in the Keynesian theory, they identify demand side factors are more important than. Okay. So that's why they highlight this raising the government expenditure under the demand. Okay. Right. Is it clear to you? Okay. Right. Right now, just to have, I can explain something about this change in from the classical, from the Keynesian aggregate supply curve to this is horizontal aggregate supply curve, Keynesian aggregate supply curve to classical aggregates are like vertical, right? Now this is the situation, right? Now if you look at adjustments, right? The very short run, we can see supply curve is become purely horizontal. Very short run means we cannot change the supply. Right? Even though the price change, we cannot change the supply is perfectly there in the last. So that means we have the short run prices kind of this kind of things, right? Scenario we can expect, right? Short run horizontal aggregate supply, right? So that will actually respond to aggregate demand. The Keynesian explanation, right? Short run analysis. But when the time takes place, what happens? This supply curve change, slope change. Now here, what happened in the very short run? Raising the aggregate demand, prices does not change, right? අපි කෙටි කාලේදී ඉල්ලුම වැඩි වුණා කියලා එකපාරටම ප්‍රයිස් එක වැඩි වෙන්නේ නැහැ ඒක ආදායම වැඩි වෙනවා නිෂ්පාදනය ව්‍යාපාරික right so due to rising the aggregate demand right ඒගොල්ලෝගේ sales revenue එක වැඩි වෙනවා පස්සේ තමයි price change එක වැඩි වෙන්නේ when there is a time take place prices also tend to adjust very short run price is fixed. When the time takes place, price then adjusts with the time. So that is the basic idea. Now what happened? Now here you can see very short run when the aggregate demand price does not change, but income level output increase. Because firms are getting more earnings. But when time takes place, what happened? This aggregate supply curve become steeper. Steep, right? Initially it's flatter, they become steeper, right? So then there is we see with the increase in the demand, price also adjusts, right? So if you look at further time taking, what happened? This become flatter, right? Prices also adjust accordingly, right? So now when you order that means this time T0, T1, T2, right? Time like this. When the time takes place, this become flatter curve, steeper curve, right? Finally, it comes to vertical. So that means in the long run, what happens? When there is a rise in the aggregate demand, there will be impact on the prices only. There will be no change in the output. In the short run, we can see output change, but long run, output does not change. So that is the idea, right? So if we change the policies, fiscal policies, short run we can change the output and the employment. But long run eventually moves to the original situation. Long run there will be no change in the output. But we can expect higher inflation pressure in the long run. That means if we raise the government expenditure continuously, right? Short run we see output increase, right? But in the longer term, there will be no change in the output. Economics remain initial situation, but we can experience higher inflation situation. So that means we are moving from Keynesian ideas to classical ideas. So these two versions are coincide each other, right? Keynesian view and classical view, right? I think you get some idea, right? So if it is not clear, right? What about this is something that is the time frame, right? How the aggregates that explained moving from the Keynesian to the classical. Okay. Right. So then one more thing I added, right? We need to right now we talk about this equilibrium. We talk about equilibrium in the Keynesian game. Plus x minus x. And derive the equilibrium. Right. If you have given some values, right? You can same way we can in the ISLM model can identify the equilibrium in equation, right? So here now we assume closed economy, right? You can see, no? Now the closed economy, right? Our IS curve represent what are the things that we represent, right? In the real sector, we assume our model. Our investment curve is I0 minus I1, right? Is our investment. Government expenditure we take as auto norms. Savings function minus A plus minus B, YT means Y minus, okay? Right? And the taxes T0. So, now taking the equilibrium. How we take the equilibrium in the ISLM model? We have to incorporate injections and the withdrawal, right? I plus G equals S plus T. Right? Now you can substitute the model variables. I means I0 minus I1 R plus T, right? Injection equals withdrawal means S plus T. Saving function is minus A plus 1 minus B, Y minus T plus T. Okay. Then you have to simplify this equation. So how you simplify? First you have to remove the bracket and take the Y to this side because we are going to take the equilibrium equation for the IS curve. So we know that is explained by in Y terms. IS curve, finally we identify the equilibrium income, right? LM curve, interest rate, right? So we can derive the equation for the IS curve and equation for the LM curve by solving these two equations. Okay. Now real sector, by looking at the real sector, right? We take the injections and the withdrawals. Our model is closed economic model so far, right? We are not open now, right? So you can simplify. Can you write down those things? They are doing not available in the LHS. You can see now it's now I plus G equal S plus T. That is our model. So the model variables are given. I equal I0 minus I1 R. G equal E0, right? And the S equal minus A plus 1 minus B, 1 minus B, Y minus C, right? Now this is very important, right? There will be a question from this area, right? From the analysis. This time you will be given a question, right? Put the asterisk there, right? Now, even though this is, you see some kind of this patience for the issues, but when you use the numerical terms, it's very easy, right? So now we need to simplify this, right? Now we take the y into this side, no, right? We have the by there, we take into this side plus by, right? Y is there, it's become minus 1, okay? Equals other things, we write it as it is. Minus A plus T0 plus B T0. This right hand side variable, and we take these other variables into that side. Minus I1R plus I1R, right? Plus G minus G, right? Okay. Right. So then you can simplify y is common, y equal 1 minus B. So other variables, all right hand side variable, some variables are cancelled out. T0, T0, right? So the remaining you can write y equals 1 minus b is the multiplier. 1 over 1 minus b, all right hand side variables. We have a minus bt plus I0 plus I1R plus b. Here we have the autonomous variable, but investment also depends on the interest rate. That also we take it. So then we can rewrite this one y equal 1 over 1 minus b. This part take it as a separate I1R, right? We can take it, right? I1R 1 over b, right? Here 1 over 1 minus b, other variables we have written, right? Minus I1R 1 minus b, right? So this is the equation for the IS curve. y equal 1 over 1 minus b, a minus bb plus I 0 plus a 0 minus I1r 1 over b. Now you can see the slope of this is the highest curve, right? So what determines the slope? We identified two factors that determine slope. Can you remember? We identified two factors that determine slope. One is the I1, other one is the marginal potential consumed, no? Right? Other one is the MPS, no? Right? Now here you can see those variables. I1, 1 minus b. That is the slope of this curve depends on this, no? I1 and the 1 minus. So that is the slope, right? So this is the equation for the IS curve, right? Sometimes we may ask to derive the equation for the IS curve, right? You have to derive these based on following these steps, right? If you have given the numerical values, same process, right? But it's more easy, right, than this, right? So that is the real sector, no? Right? We derive the equilibrium based on the y in terms of y, right? Real sector equilibrium. That is the IS curve. And moving to the money market, no, financial sector, we know the equilibrium condition, money supply equal money demand. Our money demand function C0 plus C1y minus C2r and the money supply, right? We can say money supply or sometimes we give a real money balance, same thing, no, right? Money supply difference, right? So now money demand curve, we derive the interest rate, right? So therefore you take the interest rate component to the left side, other variable put it to the right side, right? Now C2 minus C2R minus is there, and we take other variable into right side, money supply, minus C0 minus C1Y, right? C2R, we actually, now this is minus, you remove the minus figure, right? Multiplying all the equation by minus. This becomes C2R plus, this becomes minus, we change the plus minus sign, right? Then we can arrange. R means, so we divide all the explanation in the right hand side by C2, right? R equal C0 C2, that is this one, right? C0 C2, C1 by C2, money supply C2, right? So that is the equation for the LM curve, right? So this is the equation for the LM curve, right? So we have the equation for the IS curve, equation for the LM curve. We have the equation, two equations, no, right? Then you can derive the equilibrium, no? Right? Only those two equations. Then you can derive the equilibrium income and equilibrium interest rate. Okay. Now here the equation for the LM curve. If you look at this equation, right? R equals CO divided by C2, ratio between CO and C2, plus C1 by over C2 minus money supply over C2, right? So basically here the slope of this curve, right, determined by the C1, C2, no, right? Sorry. C1, C2, no, right? So that means this is the slope. C1, C2, that is the LM curve, no, right? Slope depends on the interest elasticity of money demand and income elasticity of money. So those are the two factors explained here. If you differentiate this equation, you get the slope, right? C1 over C2, right? Okay. So if you want, I will upload this. Basics on the like different way. This is very important, right? Okay. So I will upload this one to the LMS, right? Can get it, right? But now you can think now this is the equation for the IS curve. And the slope is given by minus A1 minus B. So this is the equation for the LM curve, right? So you know how to derive this. LM, IS curve we derive based on the injections. Or another way is there. What is the other way? Y equals C plus I plus T. Based on that equation also you can say this. Y equals C plus I plus T. Make adeshikala models variables. But instead of savings, we have to get the consumption function there. Plus A, B, Y, D, right? Then you can identify same equation, right? You can do it, right? And this is the equations. Now, once you identify those two equations, right? We can identify by solving these two equations, we can identify equilibrium income and equilibrium. This is not the equilibrium. No? These are the two equations for the IS and the LN. By solving those two equations, simultaneous equations, you can identify the equilibrium income and interest rate. Okay. Now that is the process here, right? Now you identify the equilibrium, right? Equilibrium in the ISLM model. Now we are going to identify the equilibrium income. That is this one, right? And this one, right? Now we know the equation for the IS and the equilibrium for the LN. So now we substitute, we take the first equation and substitute R into that equation. So we can identify that so one R is here, no? We substitute this equation to here. Right? Then solve this. So then you can identify the equilibrium income, right? If you want to identify the equilibrium interest rate, take the interest rate equation, substitute this component to here, right? Y. No? Take a solve around, you can identify equilibrium interest, right? So that explained here, right? Okay. So we substitute R into Y equation, right? The relevant place, right? And can solve those equations. So you can see how it is solved, right? You have to do it yourself using these equations, right? Okay. So then finally you will get this equation, right? This is the equilibrium income, right? That is very important, right? Y equal 1 over 1 minus P plus I1, C1 over C2, right? And all the right hand side variables, those are autonomous variables. So this is the multiplier. Here also we identified multiplier. That is called ISLN multiplier. Earlier we identified the ACL multiplier. I looking at the real sector only. But here we identify the multiplier effect, combining the real and the multiple sector as well. And also explain the multiplier is there. So the multiplier is 1 over 1 minus B plus I1 C1 over C2. 1 over 1 minus B than 9 P. Yes. I1 means interest elasticity of investment. C1 means income elasticity of money demand divided by interest elasticity of money. Right? So we need to remember this one, right? Because if you ask what is an investment multiplier, what is the multiplier in the ISLM, right? In our model using the autonomous tax, no? The cost economic model, this multiplier, right? So this is the multiplier we derive based on the lump sum tax, right? And the cost economic model. So we know the equilibrium income, this, right? So this Y0 is this, right? Equilibrium income, right? And same way you can derive the equilibrium interest rate. What you have to do? Get the LM curve equation and substitute Y into this place, right? So then you can solve it that one, right? You can identify the equilibrium interest rate equation for the equilibrium interest. Same multiply you get, right? But some other right hand side way, right? So that is the now we take the equation for the LM curve and substitute IS equation to the LM equation. Then you can solve in that equation, right? You can identify the equilibrium interest rate, right? So this is the equation for the equilibrium interest rate. Here the multiply, right? Same multiply we did, right? Now that is more complicated, you see, but if you are doing this question, you can very simple, right? Can you write down this first one? Now you have given, I will write down there. Right? Now we have given the consumption function, right? Example 1, right? Consumption function is 60 plus 0.8 YD, right? Investment function 150 minus 10 R, right? And the investment taxes, lump sum tax, right? 200, right? Money supply 100 million, right? So if we have sometimes we may given real money balance, you can take it as money supply, right? So sometimes we may given money stock and the price level separate. Then what you have to do? You have to get the real money balance by dividing M over P, right? Share level separate, right? Sometimes we may given like investment, right? This 150 is that is the autonomous investment separate. Then the interest elasticity of investment 10. Then you combining those points, you need to can derive, can identify the investment function. Okay, like that, right? And the money demand. What is money demand? 40 plus 0.1y minus 10R, right? So that is the money demand function, right? Now the question asks, find the equilibrium income and interest rate, right? Correct. Find the equilibrium income and the interest rate. Okay. Are you ready? Can you start? Right. How we can solve this equation? Now you have you can use two approaches. Either you can take y equal. Now this is the closed economy now. Government expenditure and ISD. Government expenditure 250, right? Government expenditure 250. So you can identify this is a closed economy model. Right? So our equilibrium I plus E equal S plus N is 1. So you can take other way around y equals C plus I plus. So even though you use different food, finally you come to the same, right? Okay. So first what we are doing. Now let's take now since it's the injections plus I plus T equal S plus T. I use this. Is that well, what mark the guy? Okay, I plus D equals S plus T. So you can substitute the things, no? Right? First, we are going to derive the equation for the IS curve. Okay. Then we derive the equation for the LN. Then we can identify the equilibrium, right? So investment is how much? 150 minus 10R, right? Common expenditure 250, very easy, right? Equals savings function. You have given the consumption function. Okay? You have to get the saving function minus 60 plus 0.2. YD means what? Y minus T. No? Y minus T means Y minus T means tax how much? 200. Right? Okay. Then again we add the tax. Tax is 200. Right? Then you have to solve this equation. That's it. Right? To take the y into this side. So we solve this one 150 minus 10R plus 250 equals minus 60 plus 0.2y. 0.2 into 200 how much? 1. 40, no? 40 plus 200. Then 100, 250, 150, 300, 400. 400 minus 10R equals 200, 100. That means 100 plus 0.2y, no? Right? Correct? 100 plus 0.2. So we take the y into, we can keep 0.2y here. Take this one into this side. 400 minus 100, 300 minus 10R. So y equal divided by 0.2, right? 300 divided by 0.2. That is 1500 minus 10 divided by 0.2, 50R. So what is this? What is this? That is the equation for the IS curve. Equation for IS curve. Very easy, no? Right? This can be found by taking this y equal c plus I plus t. That also you can use, right? Same equation you will get. You can try it, right? So that is other equilibrium condition, right? So then we can take the money demand and the money supply, financial demand. So this is the equation for the IS curve we derive in terms of y, right? Money demand, money market. Money demand, money supply equals money demand. Right? Right? We are going to derive the equation for the LN. Money supply is how much? 100 to 1000. 100. 100. So money supply 100. Money demand 40 plus 0.1 by minus 10R. So you can solve this one. You will need to take the explain the expression in terms of R interest rate, LN curve. Right? So the plus 10R equals 40 plus 0.1y minus 100. So R means we divide all exponentials into 10, 4 plus 0.1 divided by 10. 0.01y minus 10. So what is the equation? We can write R equals 4 minus 10 means 0.001 y minus 6. Right? Minus 6. So that is the equation for the LM curve. So this is the equation for the LM curve. Equation for the LM curve, right? So then you will need to find the equilibrium. How we find equilibrium? What you can do? Equilibrium income and the interest rate by solving these two equations. What you can do is you can substitute R into this y equation, right? Do it and tell me the answer. So we take the y equals 1500 minus 50. R means what? To substitute this 0.01y minus 6. Then you can find the equilibrium equation. Right? Y equals 1500 minus 50 into 0.0 into 0.01. 0.5y minus 50 into 6 means 300. To take this y into this side, 1.5y no? Equal 1200. Y equal how much? Y equal how much? 1200 divided by 1.5. 800. So this is the equilibrium income. 800.
Plus 300, no, sir.
Then what you can find? You can find the equilibrium interest rate. Substitute into LM equation. Right?
Sir,
Substitute
50.
to LM. So we have the equilibrium interest rate R equals 0.01. Y means 800. That's 6. How much is the equilibrium interest rate? 8 minus 6. That means interest rate is 2%. No, right? That is 2%. Very easy.
Hello, sir.
If you identify the equilibrium equation for the LM curve, then equation for the IS curve, and then you can find equilibrium income. Okay. So now you can use other approach. You can as a homework, you can take y equals c plus I plus b to represent the real sector. So that equation you can identify the equation for the IS curve. And same money demand, money supply, they are the same, right? You can find, right? Okay, right? So that is the one, right? Now we have given another example here, right? Second example, right? You can try it, right? You have given consumption function 0.8, 1 minus Ty, right? So 1 minus T1 means what is the saving function? Sorry. Now consumption function 0.8 y minus T. මේ වරහන අයින් කරොත් y minus t කියන එක නේ. y minus ty. Okay. y into y minus ty. ඒකම තමයි වෙන්නේ. Right? Ty means there is a proportionate tax. Right? Simple T is the tax rate, right? So you have given simple T. Tax rate is 25. 5 means 25%. Investment function also given, government expenditure. Money demand, now here you have given the real money balance, right? So that is the money supply, no? Right? Same thing, right? Money demand equal money supply, right? So then you need to find the equilibrium, interest rate and the income. You will answer also given. Right? You can ask, right? You can use either y equals c plus I plus d or I injections again. So that function reliability equation. You can do it, right? Right. That actually I have another thing, right? Now we have another example is given here, right? Now example 3, right? You have outlined the factors that determine the shape and position of the eye. Just you need to outline, right? If you have given factors, okay, explanation, right? You need to explain, right? So how this affect the slope. Like that you need to explain, right? Now you have given following information again, right? So the consumption function is given, right? Investment also given. Government expenditure, taxes. No? Financial sector money demand function is given. Real money balance is given, right? Directly you have your real money balance. Derive the equations, find the equilibrium. You can do it, no? Right? You can identify the equilibrium, right? And the equations for the IS and the LM, and then you can solve this equation like we did, right? And find the value of fiscal multiplier. So that is multiplier from the Keynesian ISLM multiplier. We derive that one, right? 1 or 1 minus B plus I1 plus C1 over C2, right? So that multiplier, you need to identify those variables are there, no? This is B, this is I1, no? C1, C2, this is C1, this is C2, right? You can multiply, right? If the expenditure increased by 50%, what would be the new equilibrium? So based on the multiplier, you can explain. The multiplier is delta Y over delta G, right? Once you calculate the multiplier, if the 50% increase mean how much? Government expenditure. 750 to 50%. So that change you can take and you can see how much change income, right? Directly you can, using the multiplier, you can calculate. Or otherwise, you can take the 50% increase here, right? With this and incorporate that one and redo the ISC equation and find the equilibrium. That is we can use, right? Okay, so there, right? You can try this one, right? Time is not further. Right? Okay, one question right? Regarding this, sometimes you may given, right, different components. Sometimes you may given saving function, you need to convert it to the consumption based on the way that you are following. If you are using the injection and withdrawal, you can use the saving function, no? Right? If you use y equals c plus I plus g, you have to use the consumption function. See? Now, if we have given now some components, investment, this is autonomous money demand, no? Right? Sometimes you may given separate, right? So you have may given investment, interest elasticity of investment, hence like that. Then you need to must be able to derive the equation, full equation, right? Components, right? Okay. Any questions? We can try this one and take this one. But there is no answers for this. You need to be confident, right? Answering that, derive the multiplier and change this as well. Okay. Any questions? And the final exam, right? So I have one more topic I have uploaded to the LMS, inflation and the unemployed, right? But I'm not going to do that, right? So just you can refer that one for your knowledge, but it will be not coming to the exam, right? Now we have we have covered 7 areas, right? So like the exam paper similar to the previous paper, right? So we have 2 parts, part 1 and part. You need to answer 2 questions from each part, at least 2 questions you need to answer, right? All the things that we covered from 1 to 7 is tested, right? So the final is microeconomics. There are questions. So it's in 7 questions, right? Out of 7, you need to answer 4 questions. Sometimes it may be 8, right? Then you have more choices, right? But at least from each section, you need to answer 2 questions. So there will be a question from this area, right? 2 questions from the ISLM, right? One is the calculation part and the writing part, right? And one, sometimes there will be question from the ISLM, right? Rather than the things. The questions coming from the microeconomics, no? Yes, no, right? Okay.
Hello,
Yeah,
sir.
right? Final exam.
Hello, sir.
Yes. Any
Sir,
questions?
sir, can you come closer to the mic because related to the question structure, we did not hear properly.
The question actually similar format that I followed, like we did in the last exam paper, right? You can get it. You have the past papers? It's available in the LMS, right? So now there are 2 parts, part 1 and the part 2, right? Part 1 covers the microeconomic part. Part 2 covers the macroeconomic part, right? So you need to answer 4 questions, selecting 2 minimum questions from each section. Okay. Now, so far we talk about 7 topics actually, 7 lectures, right? Covering the 7 areas at least, right? So the paper comprised with the coming questions are coming from each sections. Okay. Now there is another section added to the LMS, right? Lesson 8, inflation and unemployment, right? That will not be tested in the exam paper since we are not done, right? So, but you can refer that one also, right? But it will not tested in the exam paper, right? So 1 to 7 areas you need to refer for the exam. So out of the 7 or 8 questions, still not decide, right? You need to answer 4 questions, right? Is it clear?
Yes, sir, it's clear. Sir, also for this, the last session, can you upload some questions in the LMS to go through for us?
Now I have given some question examples, right? You can do it, right? And also I will upload one tutorial, some questions from this area as well, right? So you can do it, right? Okay.
Okay, sir. Okay, thank you so much, sir. Have a nice day.
This the upgraded the lesson topic also I will upload to the LMS. Some of the things are not in the previous LMS uploading, right? So you can refer that one. Right. So thank you very much and wish you all the best. Good luck for the final exam, right? If you have any question, you can send your message and you can talk to me, right? So please do the tutorials and all the things. I prepare the materials and that you can follow it, right? From the next week, actually, in next week, I will upload the final continuous assessment marks, right? You can refine them. Right. So see you and good luck, right? Thank you.